Next song, 'cause you already know what time it is. Animated horror stories. Animated horror stories. Doom, 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 doom. You already know. Why would I do it again? Don't mind me, y'all. I have tricks. All right. Um, let's jump right into it. You don't know where we are, but we are at our good stolen cousins. I am our scary tales house. You know they always treat us right. As always, please go over there, subscribe, like some videos, watch some videos through. You do not have to watch them all with me. You guys are choosing to. This is your choice. So if you're asking, why are you talking? You chose to watch this. Please stop talking to me crazy in my own comments. You do not have to be here. Okay? Okay, let's get this thing going. Please grab a blunt, grab a bottle of water, grab a bag of chips, and grab a blanket just if it's cold in your house. If it's not, don't burn up and pass out watching this video. Okay? Okay. What are we doing? Three true Carnival horror stories animated. They get crazy in the carnival. If you have not, go through the playlists and look at one of the other carnivals. Oh no, not the carnival. I'm sorry, it was the circus. The circus ones in this playlist is crazy. So if you have not already, go check them out because they will have you second guessing. But right now, this is
Just 2 years ago, towards the end of middle school, my best friend Abby and I were involved in what at first seemed like a vicious prank, only to then be put in the claws of death itself, all because of one night. I try to recall the tragedy now, but my memory of it has been clouded by the rot of time. This is all I can remember. It was a Wednesday night, deep into late autumn. Abby and I were having yet another sleepover, not wanting to be alone on the night of the party. The party was announced earlier that day at school, and the most popular girl in school, Sharna, was the one who had set it up. However, we were never usually invited, being cast out from most.
If your kids are never usually invited anywhere, please check in with the parents to make sure they know what's going on, because why are you never usually invited and all of a sudden you're invited today? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying your kids are, I'm not saying your kids are losers. I'm not saying that at all. But if you know your kids' status in life, you can see things. They tell you stuff at school, and then they're like, "Oh my God, mom, we got invited to this great party." I'll call somebody's mama and daddy because I will be damned if my kid is the child that's called to the school when I know damn near my kid ain't never been called to no party a day in her or his life. My kid is never invited to a party, and then all of a sudden, my kid's invited to the most popular party. No, it's a setup. Yes,
Groups at school for being
and I'm ranting. I do not care.
Nobodies. We were constantly shouted at in the corridors, being called weird, ugly, dorks, you name it, we were called it. All we had was each other. All until that very same evening when we both got a text from Sharna inviting us to her party at the local carnival. Wild with excitement, we both jumped up, crying with joy as we scrambled to find some outfits. Oh my God, Sarah, can you believe it? Abby was rolling about on the floor, happiness glowing from her eyes. This is our chance, Abby. We can finally move past our old selves. We aren't losers anymore. Neither of us knew Sharna's or anyone else's real intentions behind.
You see, Shauna or anyone else's real intentions. Me, I know, because you don't just go from the least popular person in school to the most popular person. You do not. If they never invited you to no party, I don't understand why you would think, this is the party to go to. I'm sorry.
That invite. We discovered afterwards that Sharna and her friends had been bored that night and decided to invite the two of us for a prank. Sharna's brother was dressed up as a clown as he worked at the carnival, and so the group decided to try and scare Abby and me, recording it for the whole school to see. Naively, we departed our house just 10 minutes after Sharna's invite. We should never have left. We arrived shortly after leaving, witnessing the carnival in all its wonder and excitement. The crowd was bustling with life and movement as the rides shone brightly in the background. There was a clamor of joy and an air of smiles as we walked through it, searching for Sharna. After around 5 or 10 minutes of looking, my eyes were set on Sharna. She was giggling with her other friends. They were standing outside the mirror maze. But as Abby and I approached, and Sharna saw us, she quickly shushed the others around her, now applying a fake smile to her face. "Hi, you two," she smiled and waved at us as we arrived at the group. Abby and I were far too nervous to speak. This was practically a fever dream for us. Sharna did not stop smiling. A single droplet of sweat rolled down her face. She was holding her composure. "We're playing Truth or Dare. Want in?
No.
It would be awesome to have you play." She noticeably shuddered after saying that. But we ignored it. This was our chance. "Sure," Abby and I spoke in unison. Sharna openly let out a giggle, triggering the others around her to do the same. "I dare you two to go into the mirror maze." She broke down, cackling on the floor. All her friends joined her immediately after. Abby and I looked at each other with puzzled expressions. It didn't seem like that big a deal, so we agreed. "All right then, head on in." Sharna sat back up, trying with all her might to compose herself, holding her phone tightly in her right hand. She again started smiling, only the smile was hollow. As Abby and I entered the mirror maze, we heard the sound of laughter roaring in the background. We were stupefied. Why was it so funny? We wandered around for a bit, quite amazed by the sheer volume of reflections and warped versions of ourselves. It was like there were hundreds of us. Every now and again, we'd let out a small chuckle as one of us collided with a mirror. But after one instance of a collision, whilst I was helping Abby back up, our eyes grew wide with terror as we were now staring into the eyes of a clown. The clown had just appeared almost out of nowhere. It was carrying a knife that seemed to be dripping with fresh blood. Its gums were pulled back too, revealing a sharp set of moldy teeth. There was blood on those too.
Fake blood?
It stared at us, its grin widening. Drool had begun leaking from its jaws. I turned to Abby. "Run!" Suddenly, the clown exploded into motion, charging towards us. We darted away, crashing into mirror after mirror. As we journeyed through the maze, we began noticing blood splatters on the wall. The clown seemed multiplied. We had no idea which one was the real thing, if there even was a real thing. Soon enough, however, we finally emerged from the mirror maze, landing onto our stomachs on the wet floor below. We were surrounded by a group of cackling hyenas, with Sharna at the reins, holding a phone pointed at us. The flash was on. It was recording. Abby and I lay on the floor together, tears flooding from our eyes. We were distraught and mortified, and now humiliated too. "You guys look like such babies," Sharna cackled. Suddenly, the noise all stopped, as the sound of Sharna's brother became clear, coming from behind the mirror maze.
So who's in the maze? That was about to really kill them.
Where are those kids you were talking about? I don't really want to stay in there much longer. There's a load of fake blood and fake corpses scattered everywhere.
All at once, every single one of our faces, except her brother's, turned back around, facing the entrance of the mirror maze. Standing there, knife pointed at us, was the clown. An eruption of screams followed from all the kids as the clown stampeded towards us. It launched the knife in our direction, impaling itself into Sharna's leg. Sharna wailed in agony, dropping to the ground, clutching her leg tightly. Her brother was charging towards the clown. Seeing him coming, it gave us a smile, a wicked grin, and returned into the mirror maze. Sharna's brother following closely behind.
No! He's gonna die!
Later that week, after we had all returned home and while Sharna left for the hospital, we witnessed a report on the news come out, addressing the horrors we were subjected to on that dreadful night. It was discovered by the police that the man who had been carrying the knife didn't work there, and that several other bodies were found scattered all throughout the mirror maze, stabbed to death, many with chunks of flesh having been ripped straight off their bones, with teeth marks being left in their wake. The clown in question was pursued by Sharna's brother until it jumped the fence that stood between the woods and the carnival. It vanished into the thick of the forest, leaving the knife still in Sharna's leg as the only link to the killer's identity. The video of Abby and I crying was never released, and Sharna never came back to school. Maybe it was deserved. But yesterday, now starting senior year, Abby and I saw Sharna. Her leg had been amputated, and she was glaring at us both from across the corridor. Something tells me she doesn't blame the clown,
you did it?
but instead, she blames us.
Man, fuck her.
And I think she wants revenge.
Who cares? Nobody wants revenge. Bitch, sit your ass down because you called them to your party. You tried to prank them. Your brother was outside in the back. If you're lucky, he was not in there, because if he was in there, he would have died. We don't know if he died. I think he died. Because why would he run in there after a clown that just stuck a knife in his sister's knee? Yes, go defend your sister's honor, whoop their ass. But, you said yourself there's many bodies in there in fake blood. The clown come out real knife with real blood. I don't understand why he ran up in there. He definitely died. I don't understand why she's looking at people with an attitude. Bitch, you did it.
My friend Maddie and I always used to love the annual carnival in our hometown. We were just teenagers at the time, but the both of us had been going.
Random. I'll go back to the beginning. Because I used to love the carnivals in my hometown. I've loved every carnival I've been across. Lately, 2024, 2023, 2022, like, with the dramatic and tragic things that have been surrounding carnivals, I don't know. There's too many rides that have malfunctions. Like, I'm sorry, there's too many. I don't understand how the ride can go around and around and then get stuck upside down like it just got shut off. For what, an hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes? I'm sorry, I do not understand. I cannot. I'm saying that to say, just be careful at these rides, okay? That little boy, I believe it started in like 2020 when that boy got flung off the ride because the seat wasn't pushed down after that. Pushed down all the way. After that, it's just been tragic death after tragic death after tragic. And I don't know. I used to love a good ride. Sis got a good stomach. I love going on a good ride. Forward, back, left, right, up, down. Y'all be careful, okay?
And I think she wants revenge.
Fuck her.
My friend Maddie and I always used to love the annual carnival in our hometown. We were just teenagers at the time, but the both of us had been going there every year since we were 10. It would have continued that way too, if it wasn't for him. I lived in the far end of the town, opposite to Maddie's, whereas she practically lived next door. This meant at the end of the night, I would always have to trek back through the miles of cars sat waiting in the parking lot until I eventually found my parents. If only we had parked closer. At the start of the last carnival, Maddie and I met up within just 5 minutes of me arriving, regardless of the crowds of thousands whirling about the place like an ocean of chaos.
With my plan.
Oh my God, Tara, how are you? Maddie ran up to me the moment we locked eyes and hugged me tightly. I'm so great, Maddie. I've missed you. It's been a whole month since school ended now. I hugged her back even tighter. Struggling for breath, we released each other and started giggling with anticipation for the night ahead. Are you ready? Maddie started to jump about, her blood vessels pumping with adrenaline. Of course I was cut off by the sound of my phone ringing. I swiftly took it out my pocket to see who was calling me. Who's that? She asked as she stopped jumping, leaning in. No clue. It says no caller ID. Who cares? Just answer it. She grabbed my phone and pressed the accept button. Snatching it back from her, we giggled and pressed the speaker button. Maddie and I kept listening for about 30 seconds waiting for some kind of voice to follow, but nothing.
Y'all don't hear
Only
that
the
breathing?
sound of heavy breathing and the
Hey,
distant noises of rides and screams coming from the distance. We looked at one another. Our eyes were filled with utter confusion, and the noises had planted a seed of unease within us both. Unnerved, I hung up. "Who was that?" Maddie asked. Her
Girl, you
eyes
don't know?
bubbled a little with anxiety. I looked at her, shaking my head to indicate I had no clue, and then twisted my neck down at the phone screen. There was another call coming through. Again, no caller ID. This time, I decided to turn my phone on silent and hide it away. "Come on, we should get going. The carnival isn't open all night." I tried to reassure Maddie that everything was fine and that we should enjoy the rest of our night. One
Y'all
call
gotta be
didn't
paying
deserve to
attention
ruin
these
it.
damn phone calls.
She smiled
What's that?
nervously, but soon enough, we were back in action, dancing around, hopping on ride after ride until our stomachs felt sick with adrenaline
I
and
was just about to say
excitement.
why she's so damn.
The entire night, I could feel my phone buzzing, but I wouldn't dare tell Maddie. She was as terrified as it was. I didn't need to make matters any worse. Eventually, we grew tired of the nightly thrills and the soaring heights of the carnival rides. After grabbing some food, which consisted of 2 hot dogs and 1 cotton candy, we hugged each
sounds
other
good.
goodbye, signaling the end of our adventure together that night. But it wasn't the end of mine. As we parted, I began to walk towards the car park, which was just a few minutes on the other side of the food stands. As I wandered, I pulled out my phone and realized my dad had been calling me. But to my utter horror, as I went to accept the call from my dad suddenly ended and was replaced by no caller ID. It was too late. The breathing was back. This time, however, before I hung up again, I could hear the sounds of the carnival echoing through the phone.
Okay, he's there.
The
Hang
breathing,
up.
too, had grown in volume, sounding far more grotesque.
Where
I
is
could even
Maddie
make
at?
out
Y'all
the
just left
dripping
each other. Go
sound
get her.
of drool. In an instant, I hung up again, but this time, I found the no-caller ID number,
Okay.
finally blocking it. For a
Good.
moment, I felt relieved. So much so that at once I could feel my veins throbbing with joy after a wonderful evening out with my friend. I continued on my journey back to the car. Once at the edge of the carnival, I started across the vast expanses of the car
Hurry
park
up,
before
girl.
me.
Hurry up.
A feeling of dread suddenly lurched over me. I knew where my parents were, as we parked in the same spot every single time I came to the carnival. Only this time, the walk to the other side felt so much longer.
That's 'cause you just
Breathing
gotta
in,
hurry up.
I took my first step into the great abyss of cars in front of me and began weaving my way through, row by row, gradually making my way towards my parents, towards safety. I had been walking for around 5 minutes when I went to check my phone. I switched it on, checking that there were no more calls coming through. To my delight, there were none. But to my horror, there was still breathing. This time, the breathing was real. I swiveled my head around and locked eyes with a man dressed in a black hoodie, the
No.
hood dangling over his eyes,
Girl,
revealing
go.
only his grin.
Go wherever you need
He was
to go.
staring at me from the other side of a car. My blood abruptly infused with an overwhelming surge of fear as I backed away. My parents weren't far away. I had to run.
You do.
Suddenly, the man burst to life, sprinting at me from around the front of the car. In response, I dashed away, swerving past cars, screaming for help. The
Getting
carnival
to
hadn't yet
smiling.
even reached its peak, so there was nobody else in the car park. That meant that if my parents were sat waiting where they usually were, this creep would catch up to me, and then who knows what. But as I hurled myself past the final row of cars, I saw them. I was saved.
Good
I
shit.
shrieked
Open the
for
door.
them to
Unlock
help
it.
me,
Unlock it. Unlock
causing
it.
them to look up. At first, confused, but the instant
Dad,
they saw
get
me
out the
being
car.
chased, my dad's eyes visibly burned with rage as he burst
Dad.
out of the car,
Yup.
charging towards the man behind me, who I saw was now running,
Yup,
approaching
Dad.
him fast. As for my mom, I ran into her arms, squeezing her tightly as tears flooded down my flushed cheeks and panting mouth.
His ass!
I heard the sound of a body being flung into the car.
Is your daddy?
Collapsing to the floor.
Whoop his ass!
I swiveled around to see my dad stood
You all
over
know
the
I love
priest's
a protective parent, protective brother, protective cousin. Y'all know I love some protective. Yes, yeah. Not only did he run over there, old buddy ran away, and what did he do? Dad caught him, told his ass up, said, what you chasing my daughter for anyway? Let's not be dumb here. I don't even understand what you're doing. I don't. Yes. Yes.
Body, with some blood pouring out from his head.
Out from his
Later on,
noggin?
once the police had arrived, we had discovered, after lifting the man's hood back, that it was actually one of my dad's friends. That explained how we had my number.
Dad, what you got going on? Why is your friend trying to kill your daughter? No way. Ooh. And now it's clicking because the friend went after the daughter because he knew he could not beat up his... What? You can't beat up your homeboy. You knew. Your homeboy got the mitts. Why? Because you're normally with him. I don't understand what happened. You need to ask your dad what happened.
We were appalled to hear the next week that he had been
why
planning
is it
this
you?
for over a month after he came around to ours for dinner.
He's been plotting? Wow.
He didn't seem all that dangerous then.
Why was he plotting on your daddy?
To this day, I wonder what made him change.
If you haven't already.
Yet at the same time, I despise him. I messaged Maddie explaining what happened after the police report was filed. I told her I'd never return to the carnival again.
Aww.
If it was really that easy, who knows who could do the same.
Honestly, she could have returned back to the carnival because it wasn't someone that was random at the carnival. It was someone that had a vendetta against your daddy. So the carnival didn't really do nothing to you. It was like an enemy of your dad, you know? So you could have went back to the carnival, girl. Don't make no excuses. You just don't want her to fuck with the carnival no more.
The night was still...
Because in reality, it could have been like a parking lot horror story. You know, just that one because it happened in a parking lot. And it happened at the carnival. She got the text on the way to the carnival, but still, I think that was she see the text in the parking lot.
The night was still young, the moon barely visible in the sky. Dancers with torches ran past me, screaming and singing as they beckoned people to join in. The procession was already several miles long. I'd never seen it get this big. Let's go! Em, my sister, grabbed me by the hand, pulling me towards the dancers. I shook my head first. It was way too busy. I felt weird about dancing with people I didn't know like this, too. And there was something else going on, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Are you a chicken or what? Em stuck her tongue out, and I rolled my eyes, allowing her to line me up behind her friends, who were cheering loudly. It was fun, really. We pranced through town, singing, drinking. Honestly, it's been a while since I let go like that. But then, something changed. The procession wasn't heading towards the city hall like it was supposed to, but somewhere out of town. That, in itself, admittedly, didn't feel like such a big deal. It was easy to see why people wouldn't want to stop and dance for just a bit longer. The music, the loud singing from people, it was all exhilarating. Still, somehow, I felt uneasiness sneak into my chest. I grabbed Em by the hands just as she nearly slipped away from me. She was dancing around a teen roughly her age, one of the original dancers who wore a fancy costume and fun markings on her cheeks. Stay close to me, Em. She was pretty, all right, but I didn't feel comfortable being separated from my sister, not by her or anyone. Why are you being such a spoil sport? Em pouted up at me. She was breathing heavily, her voice a bit raspy already from having too much fun. I shrugged, but then I motioned for the dancers. They were starting to separate themselves from the rest of the crowd. Looks like they're gonna do another performance or something. You don't want to be stuck there without knowing the choreography, do you?
At all.
It was just an excuse, of course. I had absolutely no idea if I was right or wrong. However, it made sense to me at that time. It took my sister a few seconds to answer. She looked almost a bit dazed, eyes still set on the dancer from before. I had to admit, I understood why she was so mesmerized. Just like all the others in the dance troupe, the girl was gorgeous. And well, She was also moving in a near hypnotizing manner. No, I wouldn't want that to happen. I ruffled my sister's hair lovingly, tugging her along as we headed down empty streets. We were almost out of the suburbs by then, headed straight for the woods. The air was much warmer than I'd expected it to be, almost too heated. We wanted a little bit more of it, admittedly. It was suffocating being so close to so many people for more than a few minutes, after all. I noticed my chest tightening just as I was pushed into a tall man from behind.
Where's your sister?
I was being too slow.
Where's your sister?
He didn't react, and neither did the person behind me. It was as if they didn't even notice that they were squishing me between each other.
They don't care. They're possessed.
It took me a solid minute to wrangle myself out of my makeshift prison.
There you go. There she
You
is.
okay?
No.
Asked, worry shining in her eyes. I nodded quickly, but motioned to the side of the crowd where it wasn't as thick.
Period.
Want to just leave for a sec?
Please.
I need to breathe a bit. We can join back in right after. That time around, I was the one led by Emmy. She was used to it by then, I believe. My asthma liked to act up when it least needed to, after all. Still, it took us a few minutes to wrangle our bodies through the dancers. It was a bit bizarre, almost. I'd been to many concerts before, and the crowd was always at least a bit more understanding.
Because
sure, it was a bit different from dancing constantly and moving forward than just watching a show, but still. Once we were a bit outside of the procession, I could finally breathe. I felt lightheaded, almost drunk on the music and people, but I snapped out of it quickly as I took a few puffs of my inhaler. My lungs were still a bit too tight. Want to head back soon? Em asked, staring straight ahead of her. There was something a bit odd about the way her gaze never left the dancer from before. She craned her neck further and further as the girl danced past us. She was in the front row completely with the rest of her group. Only then did I realize that we were somehow all standing in the cemetery. Wait, what the? How did we get here without me realizing?
I don't even like this anymore.
I felt a lot more lucid as I shook my head, looking around in order to try and see if anyone else but me cared. Hundreds of people were still singing and dancing around. They seemed to be pretty much ignoring our new location. Perhaps they'd known already? Still. Just as Em started tugging me back into the head of the dancing mass of people, I heard it. A man cleared his throat. He was standing on top of a grave.
Oh, no.
Short but somehow intimidating. Like the dancers, he wore gold effortlessly.
My children, I thank thee for bringing me so many new souls. Our father, the banished son, will be so glad to hear of your good deeds on the day of...
Only as he talked on and on did it finally dawn on me. The people still swaying to the rhythm of music we couldn't even hear anymore weren't just enjoying the vibe of the procession. We're trapped, I hissed, reaching out to grab my sister by the arm. But she wasn't there.
How did you let her go?
What the heck? Where are you? She didn't respond. It took me a whole minute, and it felt much longer to locate her. She was once more around the girl from before, laughing, dancing around her as if she hadn't heard the man. She probably hadn't. I swallowed hard. My sister seemed lost, her eyes empty, lips constantly moving as if she was chanting something. I started to hear it from others too, their quiet words quickly morphing into something much louder. My focus was solely on Em, though.
Get her!
So scared. After all, it seems like I could slip away, but only without her. I was the only one still somewhat lucid. Everyone around us seemed far too gone. But why? It took me a moment to realize. My earplugs. I'd worn them to the carnival to be able to hear my own thoughts since I was quite sensitive to sound. Perhaps for some reason, they were blocking out whatever was causing others to lose their minds. I had to choose. Try and get Em, but likely fail, or get away. And ran. I didn't look back a single time, not when someone started chasing me.
She ran away from her sister, y'all. That's the question in the comments. Are you grabbing your sister? Because all she really needs to do was grab her sister and get up out of there. She could have danced her way to the front. Ah, 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 grab her sister, bag up, and got up out of there. She left her sister. Are you
Not when
getting
I
your
could hear them catch up with me. I wanted more time to think of a plan, to figure out a way to save her,
left
but
her.
that never came. They dragged me back, laughing.
Wow.
The words that meant nothing to me slipped off their lips, sticky like honey and yet filled with poison. The music picked up again. There was laughter, singing, dancing, and then a bright flash of light. Everything around us ceased to exist right after. It was all but darkness and pain. So much pain.
I don't know if I feel bad for her, y'all. I really don't. Because, right? Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. Right? All she had to do was, like I said, go over there, bow, 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 grab her sister, bow, 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 bow. Pretend like, she's in the motions and she would have got her sister and escaped. I feel as if her sister might have turned on her and tried to pull her back, but still, that's when you knock her out and drag her by her arms or by her scalp, like I said in the beginning. Um, I don't know. I think it's the fact that she tried to duck off and leave her sister, where the demon was like, "Bitch, you ain't got no loyalty. I can snatch you up." Ooh, let me know in the comments how you felt. Which one was your favorite? And until next time, please do not forget to go over to I Am Our Scary Tales. How's our good cousin? Subscribe, watch some videos. You do not have to watch them with me, but you do have to watch them over there. And if you're not watching them here, watch them there. And until next time, I love you guys. Mwah.